Hey everybody, it's Trigger Bar Philosopher. Welcome back out to the channel where we're going to be talking about Meal Team 6. Should be a good show. Let's get to shooting. Okay, jokes aside, no, I've never served in the actual SEALs, Rangers, Army, police force, local militia, airsoft squad. I guess I played airsoft a couple of times in paintball, so I don't know if that counts, but yeah, I'm basically your average FUD, and I'm tactic-curious. I'm not tactical by any stretch of the phrase, but I'm getting into a little bit of night vision, a little bit of two-gun shooting. I've done 2 competitions now. I use the word competition lightly. It's more like a hand-holding event for people like me and better shooters to get out and just practice your skills at night. Yes, they do a beep and start, but we don't keep track of times and who won or lost. We do some head-to-head, and you know you lost in those situations. But we're going to talk about my gear setup before we get out to some of the night vision. And really my whole intent on this is not to put out a video to kind of show how much I know, rather to put out a video to show how little I know. And then if you are curious in this space too, maybe these, in my experiences, will help you. And I'll talk about some of my learning systems as I've gone through putting this whole kit and everything together. First off, this is not for the faint of heart. This is not for people who want to do it on a budget. I'm sure there are ways, but I'm not showing you that way. I want to put out ways that we can learn about this stuff. And if you're curious about it, but you don't think you have the skills or qualifications or whatnot, going from basically zero, what's that experience going to be like, and how do you get into it? So let's talk about my gear setup. And yes, it's pretty nice gear in my opinion. I'm sure you can spend, if you want to get into night vision, you can drop $50,000 on it. That was not a typo. You can put a lot of money into it. So this is not that setup, but there has been some investments, and you can do your own price checks and things like that and figure it out on your own. But this is the setup that I have. Let's run through it. So Haley Strategic Micro Chest Rig. At the competitions, I saw people running their plate carriers with and without plates. I'd say most people had no plates in it because you're doing a lot of work, and let's face it, we're probably all under prepared in our cardiovascular fitness, and just me getting out there was sufficient for me to get a good run in. Carrying 4 magazines, some extra pistol mags and things like that was enough. You know, I was pretty beat after the 4 hours at night in each of the sessions. So I didn't need to train in extra plates. I can imagine that only adds even less mobility, less agility, and more stress on your cardiovascular system. And that's one of the things, look, I want to stay active. I want to stay in shape. And one of these things is to push yourself, try to learn, try to grow. I'm sure some of you are going to experts out there and you say, Trigger Bar, you did this wrong, or you're an idiot or whatever. Okay. I'm putting it out there that I don't know what I'm doing, but there are probably others in my case and that maybe are one step behind me. And so I want to put out what I have done and things that I've learned and things that I might do a little bit differently. First off, let's talk about the gun, because generally speaking, that's what I like to review. This is a Daniel Defense 11.5-inch upper receiver. And 11.5 seems to be the common thing that everyone's going to at this point. Some people are going 12.5, some people are going 10.5, some are 14.7, so you can get out to the legal length with a pin and weld job on the end of 16 inches. Instead, I decided to go with a pistol brace in 11.5 inches. Again, these are tactical or tactical games where you are maneuvering, running. I want a light rifle setup. I also wanted to put a suppressor on the end of it, and I really wanted to tune this system right. And so let me talk about some of the efforts that I've gone to tuning. So this is a YHM Turbo K RB suppressor on the end of it. And what that means is that they've actually drilled holes in a couple of the baffles to let some of the gas go through. This is not an advanced flow-through can, but it does a decent job of giving you some ear protection. When I'm out on the range and I have these Pelotor earmuffs on, this sounds pretty suppressed to me, just as suppressed as other people's. I'm sure there are better suppressors, and I have better suppressors, but that's what I'm running on this. Next, I put in an H3 buffer in it, it was still pretty gassy. There is no adjustable gas block. Sometimes those can be viewed as failure points. And so with the Daniel Defense upper, I didn't want to put on a new gas block. Sure, you could put a rifle speed, but I wanted to tune this so that it could pretty much shoot 77 grain ammunition, which is what I'm shooting out of this gun. And then so I have my H3 buffer in the back that helps reduce it. I went to the range. I started off and my rounds were all going forward. When you shoot, when you're holding your AR-15, my rounds were kicking forward. That tells you that you were overgassed. So I put the H3 buffer in. It brought the trajectory back just a little bit. And again, if you had a full or a traditional type suppressor on, you would have been way forward with this system. So with that said, I put that H3. It still wasn't where I wanted, so I got the bootleg adjustable bolt carrier group. It's got a screw on the side and you can move it from unsuppressed to suppressed. And basically that pushes more gas down through the bottom of your mag well. And yes, that makes your magazines a little bit more dirty, but it pushes less gas into your face and really tame this rifle. This is just an extremely pleasant AR-15 to shoot in its configuration. I am super happy. The gas or the rounds are ejecting at about 3-4 o'clock. And just exactly where you would want it. And I really haven't had any issues in cycling with it at all. Next up, I have the Romeo 4 XT Pro. That's, generally speaking, one of the better ones. It does have a button up top so that if you are in your regular daylight bright settings, you press the night vision button, which is between the plus and the minus. It's raised up just a little bit. You can figure it out just by feeling with your fingers, and you press that night vision switch and it dims back to your night vision settings. I really like that. I only have this 4X, and I actually don't really like it, the SIG 4X magnifier on it. I would not really recommend that, but I only have the 4X on there for sighting it in. What I want to do is talk about some of the lighting systems, because again, I was setting this up to run at night. So I have a Streamlight HLX. Anyway, I'll put it up in the top. It's one of their new systems, and I don't have it mounted to any type of, or I don't have mounted to it any type of push button. I really wanted to run mostly at with my night vision, and so wanted to use sparingly with the flashlight. Now that came into a problem when I first ran this in the first competition. I had it mounted over here, and it turned out some of the scenarios that they had for us, I needed to turn on my light. I needed to turn my night vision off and turn my light on. And having it on the opposite side was just too much for me and was a pain. So I ended up putting this switch to run my IR laser module with the switch, and then having a push button that my thumb could easily get it when I'm in that C-clamp. Okay, so that is the flashlight. Then we're going to move on to the laser aiming module. And sure, so what I have is the Holosun LS321. And what that means is that it has both a visible laser. So you've seen lasers on handguns and other places. You move them around for cats. It has one of those on here. And then it also has an IR illuminator. That means when you're looking at with your night vision, you can see something and it looks like there's a flashlight turned on. But if you don't have your night vision on, you can't see it. So it's in the infrared spectrum, and we can't pick it up with our normal vision. And then it also has an IR laser, which is just sort of a laser beam. And what's cool about this setup is that the visible laser and the IR laser are slaved. And what that means is when you make, just like a traditional scope, you zero this in, you go right, you go left, you go up, you go down. There's buttons and screw things to zero this. And with that laser, or with that these adjustments, it moves your visible laser and your IR laser. Now, I don't have a place where I can go sight in my gun at night with my IR laser. So I have to do it during the daylight hours. So it's really important for me to have a vis laser that I can use to sight in. And then when I turn this on at night, I know it's going to be on target, and I confirmed that when I was at the range and in my competition. Everything was good. One of the reasons I like this Daniel Defense is it's got a pretty beefy, extensive locking system so that this front rail will hold zero pretty well. I will say, while zeroing it in, it's not, you know, sometimes when you go right, it goes down when you go left. So that means it's not exactly level. I think that's just one of the challenges with these laser aiming modules that you're going to have with it. Holosun has just come out with a new one. It's called the Iris. I would not recommend you get the LS321 unless you're just looking to save $100. But the Iris is probably the one to go for. By the time this video is out, I'm sure they will be shipping, or sometime this year they'll be shipping. That's probably the one that I'll get. They're a little bit brighter. But what I will say is that the distances I was doing my shooting at, which was only out to a maximum of 100 yards, this laser aiming module was perfect. And I just don't know that I'm ever going to be at a competition where I'm doing more than that. So that's also something to consider. And if you think in some type of self-defense or some type of, collapse of society, are you going to be shooting at night for over 100 yards? I don't know how realistic that is. So I do have a Radian charging handle that's supposed to redirect gas. It's not a very gassy system. I really like that. I do have a LaRue trigger in the bottom. It's a Wilson Combat and the B5 grip system at the bottom here. And then I did my spray paint job on it. Yeah, so I think that's the gun. Oh, let's talk now and move to the helmet. This is a Team Wendy helmet. This is called a PVS 14, the night vision part of this. That's the kind of super expensive, but even this, it's a bump helmet, meaning it's not a ballistic helmet. It won't protect you from rounds, but it allows you to mount all the stuff that you need on here. I wanted to be able to mount my Ear Pro and then get the mount on the front, and they sell it. It's called Team Wendy. Not that I'm recommending anyone go to those sites or whatever. I'm just telling you what I've done. The tricky part with night vision then is how you're going to mount this system. So I have up here some Wilcox. There's two parts that you have to mount. There's something that goes directly into the helmet that you have to put in, and then there's this module that allows you to swivel down and swivel up. And so I'll put up in the top what those two things are. They are expensive. You can get aftermarket ones. I figured the buy once, cry once type of thing was my mentality. The PVS 14, the intensifier tube in there is an L3 Harris intensifier tube, and it's a white phosphorus filmless thing. So it's pretty good. It does have a couple of glitches, but even in the videoing that I was able to take, you weren't able to see that. Now for the videoing that I got, I used something from Unobtainium Gear that's a camera. It mounts, and I realized later where I'm supposed to have it. It's at the 6 o'clock position, but it mounts on the helmet, and I can video for quite a while on it and get some footage. I'm pretty excited about that. Again, have these Pelotor ear protection on it. They are fantastic. I could hardly tell. Like sometimes with your Ear Pro and the microphones on it, it's just muffled and it's just different. These are fantastic. Also, the sound protection is very good. One of the things that you'll learn at the night shoot is that you have to have a positive identification. And so I have this HRT light, if you can see the green on it, it'll definitely show up at night pretty well. But so I put that on. When I went to the competition, they gave us those luminescent tubes that you crack, and I just hooked it onto my helmet. I've got some scrim on here just because that's tactical and fun. I do have a little thing in the back where I keep spare batteries and one thing of lead to balance the helmet. A single PVS 14, meaning I don't have two tubes up front, one for each eye, is that with that, it gets heavy and hard on your neck, so I balanced it just a little bit by putting some weight at the back. So that's our setup. What I want to do here today is I want to do just a little bit of shooting, and then we're going to get into our night vision and we'll experience, and we'll talk about that. One of the things that I forgot to mention in the setup was that I do have the SIG mounted with the tall riser, the 4XT Pro, and then I have American Defense Manufacturing ADM riser as well on it. And that riser is up there so that when I come up and my PVS 14 is down, I have a chance of not hitting it and being able to see through it. When it's too low, you're kind of running into stuff with it. So having that extra light, and there's folks who talk about what's the right riser height. And of course, there's popular Unity risers and other things like that. that you can get, but that's just the route that I went, and it worked out great that I was able to see through the Optic. Again, when you have everything kind of set up, you have the choice of being able to use passive, meaning just looking through your sights, or using active, meaning you can use your IR lasers to illuminate things. I did some shoots with both just to get used to it. I will say it took some getting used to. I still was trying to look through my sight with my night vision goggle, even when I had the active laser going on, which is kind of funny, and that's just a training thing. You know, you can shoot like this when you have the laser out. I just kept trying to do this, even though I could have just been shooting like this. And yes, you want, you know, your cheek, but when you're running and gunning and you're running around and you're doing all that stuff at night, just do the quick shooting with the vis laser or the IR laser, and you can see pretty brightly and get on target much faster. So in terms of like getting better at these things, there were a lot of learnings like that. Yeah, I'm not sure how, we're not going to do a lot of shooting tonight, or today, and we're mostly just going to get to the night vision stuff. But I just wanted to show a little bit of how this gun performs. I will say I need to do a lot more training on it, because doing it with night vision, where everything is so blurry up close, you have to get used to doing all this manual of arms. Plus, I had gloves on because it was less than 30 degrees. It was cold nights, the 2 nights that we did it. That you just have to rely on muscle memory. I wasn't quite there yet, so those are good things to learn about yourself and your skill sets. I tried just a little bit. I've got my vis laser on, so we'll do just a little bit of shooting there. And then we can do, you can see a lot of the rounds are going perfectly. It's very weak shooting. We'll try to get on some steel here. I gotta move so I don't hit my GoPro camera. All right. Let's move on to the night vision. That's a cool part. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention with the night vision before I get to it is that your night vision goggles will come, at least mine do, they come with an adjuster. It's basically, think about, they are glasses that are focused on a single point. And so what that means, you can refocus for something close, but then when you look up, everything's blurry. So then you focus for something long manually, and then everything is blurry up front. At least the versions that I have, there's probably different ones out there, but that's where I'm at right now. So let's get into the night vision. I think I have a lot of fun stuff to talk about that I realized for myself. I don't know how interesting it is for you all, but if you're tactic curious, maybe this is something for you. Okay, let's just take a look at the first night shoot. Everyone's got their glow sticks on. And then we're going to take a look at the first short range type activity. You started off on the left. If you didn't get your hit, you had to run to the right, get your hit, and then come back to the left if you didn't get the first time. He obviously missed his first shot. I didn't get it on camera. This is not me. Then he runs up. You got to do short hits. You could either transition to pistol or keep on with your rifle. There was a target, and then there was also some clays that you had to take. Now this next one is me. This is at the longer range. You could only have 5 rounds in your gun. Then you had to run up without loading up, run up about 25 yards. You had 5 shots. You had to make every shot count until I'm now loading the weapon. You could see then I was putting on my infrared at that point because this camera is capturing that. And I missed my first shot, so oh no. So I had to reline up. As you can tell, I'm trying to like look through my sight, and I'm also trying to use my laser aiming module, and you can tell I'm also fighting with the barrier. You were supposed to use like 2 or 3 shots inside the barrier and a couple shots outside the barrier. So I was able to get the rest of the 4 hits on it, but then after, when I didn't, because I missed my first shot, I had to put the gun down and then run all the way back, which is great for someone who is like me and needs the extra running. So you put your weapon on safe, you remove your magazine, you have to take it off, and then you got to run like crazy to get back. So be very careful, be very slow. That's my attitude at that point. And then go. The camera guy who I got to take it, he's like, I probably should have ran with you, but oh well. So get back, get on target, reload. You have 30 rounds at this point, but I only had one more target to get a hit on, and so that happened pretty quickly for me. Once I was able to get back on target, and of course I chose the easiest one for me, and then boom, I was able to get the hit. All right, that wrapped up the first night. Well, I want to point out this on both of the nights, you actually don't have to use night vision at all. You can use a white light, a weapons matted light, and you can run the course just as you are. So really, barrier to entry is a rifle and a weapons matted light for the night. And this is the second night of the course. They had that 100-yard range set up a little bit differently. They had a target at about 90 yards, a target at about 60 yards, a target at about 20 yards, and they had a little mini shoot house that you had to go in and determine what the targets were, whether good guy or bad guy, and then shoot accordingly. Now we're going to transition to my turn. This is just me getting ready. Range officer reviewing all the rules with me. Now me running up. I got to get one shot at this distance. And again, I'm still kind of getting confused between looking at my laser aiming module and looking at my Optic. That's definitely a learning that I got to choose one and not try to do both. And it definitely is pretty hard. You can see I'm kind of trying to look through the laser aiming module, but there is just a small hole with those VTAC barriers, and I definitely need more work on those. And they represent, just random barriers that you're going to have to come up against and figure out. So again, you keep running, you run all the way up, then you just get 2 quick, easy hits until it goes off. And then I transition to my pistol, and I use white light for that. So at this point, I flipped up my night vision and turned on my pistol mounted light, and then I was able to make determinations whether they were good shoots or bad shoots. So of course here you're getting to see the stars, and then the course fire is over. And then back over at the pistol range, this one was designed as a head-to-head competition. You start off over on the barriers on the left and right side. You have to hit a target that has a flasher. Once you see the flash, you have to get one shot, and then you move to these barriers. You're supposed to shoot inside the barriers, although some people didn't follow that. And then there are clay pigeons on the inside. You do that back and forth 3 times. First one done is the winner. Again, this is as close as it gets to competition, and there's a lot of friendliness with it. And you could use a pistol caliber carbine or a pistol on this. I used my pistol. Okay, then it was my turn. So first up, I just wanted to get my dot ready. As you can tell, it was just way too bright for my night vision. So I had to turn it way down and get it on its night vision settings. And then, as you can tell, that pistol, it's my Glock 45, is pretty fuzzy. So you kind of basically have to do everything from muscle memory, as I was saying previously, because my diopter on my night vision is set to look at distance. So you'll see here in a second once I get started. Hands are on the target, and then we're going to get going. Okay. Load from the draw, okay. And then you can see how I'm aiming passively. I get that dot up in front of my night vision and able to get going. I'm sure I could have just point shot. That's the kind of thing that you need to do. And again, you're shooting through that barrier, trying to get a pretty accurate shot on target to get those clay pigeons. The bigger targets, I should have just been point shooting. I was at a huge disadvantage in this system, though. It was because the guy I was going up against, he was using a white light, and I was not using white light, and so that was blinding me, and I could hardly see my targets. I actually think I shot through one of the clay pigeons on this, and that kind of slowed me down a little bit. But obviously, Trigger Bar did not win here, and the other guy beat me pretty solidly. I will admit I spent a fair amount of the night just kind of looking at the horizon and directly up at the stars. It was a beautiful night. On this second night, there was no moon out. On the first night, the moon was totally out, so it was a bit brighter on the first night. One quick thing I did want to mention is that a fair number of guys did have problems with their systems. I think it mainly had to do with how cold it was, but I don't know. But it seemed like a lot of systems went down, and they were having problems loading rounds into the chamber, especially as the night kept going on. I know this video is going on pretty long, but I've got a couple more of these to show. Maybe just show one more. But again, I'm going to go to this long-range target. Cool thing about these guys and our range officers at the range who put on the event, they allowed us to kind of keep going back and forth and run this thing as many times as you wanted. And I certainly needed the practice, and so I thought it was very helpful. to get that kind of practice that I needed. So again, struggling with the barrier, struggling seeing through those small holes with my night vision and my laser aiming module, which is what I was trying to use. And yeah, I'm going as fast as I can go, but yeah, given the snow and other conditions, that was also didn't want to fall while carrying a weapon. And here we go, flipping up the mounts, and then using my handheld flashlight to get up here into the shoot house and then make the correct decisions. I think I did a pretty good job of that, although I think I could have done a little bit better with how I stepped through those barriers and looked into them, done a little bit better in my technique. Okay, well, I hope that this was something at least that was entertaining, if not bemusing for many of you. But if you're tactic curious, I hopefully that helped you on your way about, hey, is that something fun that I want to get into? Is that, you know, what does it take to get into it? What's it like? Maybe you have no idea, ever desire to get into it, but this was enough to say, okay, that's kind of cool. Now I can move on. Up to you. But I had a fun time. This is something hopefully I'll be doing a little bit more regularly, improving my skills, getting better and better with it. I don't intend to make night vision a main focus of the channel, but it's certainly something that I've been doing and I've been messing around in my basement for quite a while. Just trying to get used to it, and I was super happy that my club started up some of these night shoots again, where I can actually get some practical experience firing guns, using them in real situations. So let me know what you guys think about this setup. What would you change? What would you do differently? What have you heard that might make a difference in some of the ways that I messed up or could learn from? Appreciate the comments below. I hope everyone has a great week, and let's get to shooting.
From pistols to rifles, we'll take on the best. Reviewing each weapon, put them to the test. With revolvers and shotguns, we'll break it all down. The Second Amendment protects from the crown. Shooting for the stars.